or I shouldn't say when you're talking to, but what, like on.
We're live.
Oh, we're live. Look at that. Hi.
Hi, Alex. It's
Hey, how are
great to
you?
see you. It's great to see you. I'm excited to have you on board with us. And it's been fun partnering with you and just having you be a part of my community. I know a lot of my clients have been digging into Podmatch, as have we. We've been starting to use it for myself. We've been starting to use it for some of my clients. And it's just been really amazing. And it's just such a great platform. So welcome, Alex Sanfilippo.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And great job on the last name. That's rare. Most people say something else. So thank you so much for having me. It's honestly been an honor getting to meet you. We've had a handful of conversations at this point. So this is really cool to get to be here with you doing this now.
Yeah. I've really been wanting to introduce you to my community because, I think a lot of my community knows that I set out at the beginning of this year and it's actually towards the end of last year, I started doing all this research about podcasting and why is it so hot right now? I mean, it is growing faster than any other platform that's out there. And we started doing all of this research on it. And I knew that I wanted my clients to be getting on more podcasts. And so I was like, do we build this? Do we... I actually sat down with a brother-in-law who's an amazing product strategist. And cool. He said, you have three choices. You can build it yourself, you can buy it, or you can partner. And as we were having this conversation, I knew my sweet spot was not to build databases and create connections in that sort of way. That was not my high power.
Right. Yeah.
And I had a research person, an intern that was doing all this research on all the different platforms that were out there. And we came across yours. And Podmatch stood up and above everything else by far because, you've got the artificial intelligence that's there that connects people and you can, do your own searching. I mean, it's just such a great platform. And then when I reached out to you and said, hey, you want to partner on this? I took my brother-in-law's advice and lo and behold, you said yes. And it's really been fun, I think we were your first agency.
Yes, you've been like a huge support along the way. Super helpful. I mean, we launched it, I didn't even know what I was doing. So you've been like when we launched that side of it, I was like, well, here it is, I think, and we just kind of were able to work together and stuff like that. But yeah, you were number one on the list. And it was funny, my co-founder who does the tech side of things, right? He's the one like building out the algorithms, making sure things are growing in a healthy way. When you joined, it was like hours after we launched it. Like we hadn't even announced it yet. He's like, dude, somebody already joined. He's like, how'd they even find it? So thank you for that. You made me look really great in that moment. So,
well, I love it. And it's fun to be working with, and we're just getting started. I mean, to be totally honest, we're getting just started. I know that, when I think about the whole launching of a product, and it takes longer than you ever anticipate for sure. And our little piece that we've been doing for Podcast Connector and connecting great podcast guests to great podcast hosts, we've got a couple of different ways people can do that. They can do it just on our weekly posts that we do in our community here on Extraordinary Women Connect. We have a Podcast Connector post where find a guest, be a guest. People can connect up in that way. So just a very organic way within our own community.
Right.
And then we partnered with you guys with Podmatch. And now people can get into a database of great shows. Great, you guys have been building your list of podcasters and a lot of podcast guests. And now you've got this database that can match people up. And then the third way people in my community can really start to do this is with my Podcast Connector service, which we're still kind of doing just a soft launch of that. We're working with some specific clients, helping getting them, we're booking them. My team is booking them on podcasts. So that's been a lot of fun to be building these three components. And Podcast Connector has been such an intricate part of, the mix of it and how we're just serving clients. So I would love to hear a little bit about how you are, just tell us your story about how you started Podmatch.
Yeah, sure. And real quick, I want to just reference something that you just talked about, because I think that you got to give credit where it's due. I mean, you're absolutely a go-getter. Like, you listened to your brother-in-law give you like three good options. You found the one that made the most sense to you. You went after it. you launched before you were ready, which I always think is great because launching anything takes forever. But if you wait till it's perfect, it
Right.
literally takes forever. Most people never launch anything because they're just always waiting for the perfect moment. And you just kind of jumped all in, know what you want to do, know who you want to serve. And again, that's just one reason I have a lot of respect for you. So I wanted to mention that first.
Thank you. A little bit of agile, and that's my brother-in-law too, because he's definitely got a lot of that kind of background in him. And so I take a lot of his advice in that realm of things. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's smart. Well, kudos to you both then. So, yeah. So for me with Podmatch, I've been speaking at podcasting conferences for the last few years. I have a show myself, and
What is your show name?
it's called Creating a Brand.
Yes. Oh,
Yep.
You guys have to go listen and tune in.
Yeah, it's a really fun show. I really enjoyed it. I started it because I wanted to help early stage entrepreneurs kind of make their first or next step in their business the right one. So whether it's a side hustle or a new startup, usually these people still have like a 9 to 5. It's just kind of something that can kind of help them along the way. And I launched it with that intent, and it did really well from day one, which gave me the opportunity to get on many podcasting stages, virtual or in person. And as I was doing that, I really just fell in love with the podcasting community because I've just found there are so many great people, both on the guest and on the host side. Like the people that I just meet in podcasting are always like, I feel like they're the salt of the earth. Like they're just so kind. And so I became very passionate to serve the people that were in podcasting. And I remember I told my wife one day before I was getting ready to speak at a conference. We were actually in Orlando, Florida, back when conferences were big and in person. So believe it or not, this was the first week of March 2020. Like this must have been the last conference to happen. There's about 2,000 people there. I told my wife, I'm about to go on stage. And when I get off, I think I'm going to ask as many people as I can, because whether you're a good speaker or a bad speaker, people are going to line up to talk to you. And that happened. I said I'm going to ask as many of them as I possibly can what they're struggling with in podcasting to see if there's something we can do to just be helpful, because these people have helped us so much.
Yeah.
And so we had that idea, and right when I got off stage, people, as I said, people always line up. They're just nice people. And when I got through talking to people, about 100 of them said the same thing. I'm having a really hard time finding the ideal guest for my show. Right. And I'm spending all my time, instead of producing episodes and launching them, I'm just looking for guests all day long, trying to just find one or two that will work. Granted, we all know like a brother-in-law that will jump on the show, but eventually we outstay our welcome with those people. You're like, hey, you want to come back on the show again? And they're like, please, no. So when I went home, I just decided, you know what? We need to find out a solution for this, what we can do. What can we do?
So
to help
this was
people?
in March of 2020 you
Yes,
had this thought. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Talk about mover and shaker here.
Right. So I came back home, and it was, I think I came home on a Sunday, and that Tuesday night, which was March 10th, 2020, behind, you can't see it, but behind this background I have here is whiteboards. It's the wall of whiteboards. And I just whiteboarded the whole idea out because it just kind of hit me. And I wrote it all out, and I called a friend that I had worked with previously. He's a software developer, a really good one. And I just called him like, hey, man, like we worked together years ago. We know we work well together. I have this idea. Would you be interested in partnering? Do you have any capacity? Crazy thing is, he just finished a job that Sunday night that he'd been working on for a long time. Like he was like clear. He was good to go. So we just drafted up 50-50 partnership, and we both put $2,500 into account and started building the product. So what Podmatch ended up being, and still to this day what it is simply put, think of like an online dating app. Mm-hmm. And instead of connecting people for dates, it connects people for podcast interviews. So it takes a host that says, I want a guest that can talk about this. And the guest that talks about that, it'll match them together, and they can message within the platform and decide if they actually want to interview. So that's the whole idea of it. And we launched it on June 15th, 2020. So we are just past our 1-year anniversary of launching the product. And yeah, the rest has kind of been history. We've just been perfecting it, getting better and better at it along the way.
Oh, that's so good. I love that you've been doing this. And how has it grown? How's this? I mean, so you've only been doing this then just for a little over a year at this point.
1 year and 6 days as of right now. Yep.
Oh my gosh. So from where you started to where you are now, what's happened?
Yeah, so we launched with 100 people, and believe it or not, it was the 100 people I met at the conference who said that they wanted this. So we launched with them a year and 6 days ago. And what we actually ended up being able to do was grow organically, which was very surprising. Like I didn't know what would happen, but we just launched and people were just starting to share it all over the place. So today we have over 12,000 people using the platform now. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's over 12,000. So about 7,000 podcast hosts and about 5,000 podcast guests right now, and those numbers continue to to grow every day, and it's just happening organically, which we're just so thankful for.
I love it. I love it. And what is your opinion? I mean, why do you love podcasting so much? Let's just talk about podcasting in general.
Sure. I could do that all day. So you have to cut me off whenever you're ready, Tammy. All right. Yeah. So I mean, podcasting. Right when I got into it, I just realized. First off, I've been a consumer for a long time. Like I enjoy listening to podcasts. I'm an active person, so I do a lot outside, and I don't sit very well. So for me, it's the best form of media because if I'm grabbing my phone here, if I'm going to watch YouTube, it could be a mobile, but I have to hold it in front of me. And
I don't.
It doesn't always work for me. Like I will watch some things, but it's at a set time. But podcast, instead of music, I'll listen to it in the gym or while I'm driving because you shouldn't watch YouTube while you drive. But yeah, so like I've been a consumer for a long time, and that's what made me realize that like, oh, maybe I should give back a little bit and share something. And I just didn't hear a show doing quite what I wanted to do. So I decided to launch my own, and then really just I'm a process person. Like my whole corporate background that I'm not in corporate anymore, but for 15 years I was in aerospace, and everything I was doing was around profit margins and processes. Like that's what I focused on all the time. So getting to do that now in podcasting has just been a lot of fun for me. So I think those would be a few things that I just really enjoy about it.
Oh, I love it. I totally love it. So tell me more about where you see your Podmatch going.
Yeah, so right now, like our big initiative, and has been since day one, is we don't actually decide what we build on it. Ever since we launched it, we just started asking it, started with those 100 people, now it's 12,000. Hey, what do you think we should do next? What are we missing? What could be better? What do we not need? What do we need, right? So we just keep on asking these questions, and we've really narrowed it down to just a few minor things left that people are asking us for. And then after that, we're doing a huge UX upgrade, which we should see, I'm hoping, Jesse, my co-founder, would hate if I said this right here, but we're hoping about 10 weeks that'll be done. So it'll look a little bit different. It'll be about 3 times faster. And we wanted to kind of do that last after we got through all the feedback. But that's kind of the last big thing. And then the goal by the end of the year is to have 25,000 people using the platform. So and we're currently on pace to do that. So those are kind of the ideas behind what we're doing.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, we have with us here, and I mean, let me just shout out here. I have an affiliate program with Podmatch. So if you guys, and if I could make StreamYard let me into my Facebook group, which I can't right here. It's not doing that. It's actually it's posting me into my YouTube channel. But my URL to get, if you guys want to sign up for Podmatch, is podmatch.com/sign-up/podcast connector agency. That's podmatch.com, sign up, podcast connector agency. So I'll post that into the notes afterwards when I can get out there. But meanwhile, I'd like to bring in one of your clients and one of my clients who's been using Podmatch. So this is Nancy McKay. Hello, Nancy.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So I know you've been really being successful. In fact, I know you've even made like some of the top. There was a month where I saw you made one of the top
10.
Top 10.
Yeah.
Most active people on the platform. Yes,
Yeah.
I've seen that. Good job. I love that.
And you've been getting on podcasts left and right. So tell us a little bit about it. Tell us about your experience.
Oh my God, it's been great. The first podcast I did was last September with Lori Marini, and I had seen you. You had reached out to me, Alex, I think on LinkedIn, and it sounded like such a great opportunity to get in sort of on the ground floor with you.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting, and I've done 9 podcasts in the last 3 months on your platform. So I've just really enjoyed all the hosts that I've been interviewed by, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that. That's so great to hear. That's really exciting.
And tell us more about that, Nancy. I mean, tell us what how the process went from when you signed up to how you're searching, how you're using the search, how you are using the platform.
Well, one of the things that I'm pretty lucky in that I'm not searching a whole lot. I'm being invited a lot. So.
Oh, I'd like to be in that world. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
People are reaching out to me, and so that's really nice that I do go in there and do some search look for matches. But really the prevalent thing for me has been people inviting me, and that's, it's such an honor. And I just did a podcast this morning with one of your hosts. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so they're actually finding you. So you go out, and basically what you do is you start to put in your bio, you put in questions you'd like to be asked, you put in topics that you cover, and why you're a great podcast guest. And so you put all of that information into the system, and it starts to match you up with, there's that artificial intelligence that's doing its work, that starts to send you leads to be on podcasts. So this has been a great tool for Nancy. It's been a great tool for me. It's been a great tool for many of my clients. So I'd love for you guys to check this out. I'll post the affiliate link for this into the comments after we close this up. Anything else that you'd like to share around this, Nancy?
I just, I love podcasting. I love being a guest. And I was, I have mentioned to you, Cammie, that I was planning on launching my own podcast. And then I've stepped back from that just a bit for a little while. I don't know if it's, completely on the back burner or not, but it's so exciting to see where podcasting. And that's the medium that I listen to. I listen to podcasts when I'm getting ready in the morning, and, when I'm driving, and so on and so forth. And, I used to do a video show on Facebook. I rarely consume video,
I don't either.
I consume.
We're all busy, right?
Yeah.
Because you can do it. I can do it, in the morning sweeping the barn, or I can do it when I'm driving. And it's just, there's so many different ways that you can consume podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was interested in partaking, creating something, and I still may do it, but what I really love is guesting.
Yeah. And it just puts you in front of so many diverse audiences that you would not be in front of otherwise.
No, absolutely not. And it's such a wide variety of people that are asking me to be a guest. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Tell us what your topics are, Nancy. Tell us what you speak to.
Well, I speak mostly, about resilience and recovery, and I'm a cancer survivor, so we talk about that. And I'm also an Equus coach, and that has really become a hot topic with all the hosts that I've been speaking with this year. Have been so interested in the horses and what they do, and so on and so forth. And so, as you can see, I light up when I talk about horses.
Yeah.
So, and that comes across, I think, on the podcast. So it's, anything resilience and adversity geared is what I love to talk about, and
really breaking through to that new you.
Yeah.
I got a question here, if you don't mind me asking.
Please.
So Nancy, like, being a guest on podcasts, what are some, like, just for people who are listening, like, what are some of the benefits do you think of being a guest on a podcast versus hosting your own? Now, I know you haven't been on that side, but I can share maybe from the host side, but from like a guest side, like, what's something you say this is why you should maybe be doing it?
Well, one of the reasons, I think, is one of the things that Cammie just said, was it increases your audience. So you get more exposure on platforms that you wouldn't ordinarily. And for me, it also, this is very selfish, but it really boosts my confidence, and it really helps me gain clarity in my message, I think.
Yeah.
I think the whole clarity of message is so true. I mean, it's like, I think about, I've done 200 plus episodes on my own show, and I think I've done about 40 at this point on other people's shows. And I can rattle off my message. It's so in alignment with everything. And I just became a much better at being able to message, to be able to be in a space with somebody just so freely and open, because it's such a beautiful conversation that happens on podcasting.
Right. And that's one of the things that has been really impactful for me, is the feedback that I get from the hosts saying how important they think my message is.
Yeah.
Has not only has it boosted my self-confidence, but it has reinforced the feeling that I've had that, my message is important, and I'm willing to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So
I think that's a really important thing, is that you need to go on and be willing to share vulnerable stories, real stories. I mean, somebody comes to me and wants to just talk to a signature talk or a signature teaching. I'm like, just so not interested in that.
Right.
I love the organic conversations that I've had with these people. It's just been, I just get off the Zoom feeling so good about the whole thing. It's just so much fun. Even if we're having a tough conversation, it's still fun. And it's just been a personal benefit for me.
Yeah. That's awesome, Nancy. Thank you. Alex, I know you've got your own podcast. What have you learned that you're looking for when you look for guests?
Yeah. So like Nancy's saying, like, transparency is really important. Like, I don't want someone to come on and give a sales pitch. Like, I'm just not interested in that. And sometimes, like, even when you approach me to be on the show, I'm like, okay, but it can't turn into like a Podmatch sales pitch. Like, we still have to have some value, right? Like, and I'm always like that. I was just on a show and the guy's like, man, you didn't even give people like I gave you, like, he's like, you had 2 minutes to like give a sales pitch. He goes, you talked for like 10 seconds. I'm like, let's just add value to people's lives. And to me, podcasting right now is one of the last true mediums that independents can get their voices out. Social media is great, but it is somewhat becoming, I don't know, throttled is a word, or like not all the messages get out. If you use certain words these days, no one can see it anymore, right? Like, and that's definitely happening. And there's, people can kind of go to both sides for that type of thing. But, and then TV is very like, TV's always kind of been very like, this is the focus, this is what we talk about. And I just feel like podcasting is really one of the last true mediums that we can share a true transparent story, and it doesn't get like throttled or filtered or anything like that. It's just like, hey, here it is. And I believe that's probably one of the main reasons why podcasting is growing so much. Even with Gen Z, like this youngest generation, they're as young as 12 and 13 years old, I think. And they're interested in hearing people's just raw, organic story that's unfiltered. And I think that's like a beautiful part of podcasting, one of the reasons it's growing. And it's why I enjoy being in the space as a guest and as a host. And honestly, being a guest has helped me in many ways more than being a host. I mean, being a host is phenomenal. I would never stop my show. But being a guest has helped me have some clarity. Like when I'm sharing what I'm sharing right now, I speak as well as I do because I'm a guest on other shows, like because I've gotten the reps in. Sorry to the first 10 people who had me on their show. I know it probably sounds like a broken record, but you get better over time, You
do.
I'm improving. But those are some big things I just see in podcasting, why I always recommend people, hey, if you've got a message to share that can impact one life, like get on a podcast. Like if you can speak clearly and you're comfortable with it, you should get out there and do this. And for me, that's a big deal, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's, it is just such the fastest growing platform for people to get out there and get on and get active on. And I mean, yet last year certainly taught us that, when we couldn't go be on live stages, originally it was like, I'd been on live stages a lot the year before. And even early in 2020, I was on stages.
Okay.
But I had made a clear choice to invest more in podcasting than stages in January of 2020.
Oh, that was wise.
It was wise. And I was like, it was just such a fortunate choice that I made. I mean, who would have known? I mean, something in my gut told me to go with investing in podcasts instead of more stages. And I was really grateful for that. And, my business didn't take a hiccup last year. My business, I had the best year I ever had in my business. Good. And, when I think about it from that perspective, is because I continued to stay out, be active in my community, serve in my communities in the ways that my clients needed me, in the way that my community needed me, and to be able to, just show up. And so I am forever a fan of podcasting. I know podcasting has put me on way more in touch with way more people than stages ever have. And I see only continued focus on staying on more podcasts.
Yeah, I'm with you. Do you all know how long podcasting has been around? I mean, I know those stats kind of go out there. Do you guys know when they started?
No, I don't.
This is the 21st year of podcasting.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
most people I talked to didn't hear about them before just a couple of years ago. And that's how I
Yeah.
know that we're still very like beginning stages of podcasting. I mean, the first time I listened to a podcast was probably 6 years ago. And before that, I maybe heard one or two people reference it, but now it's just been taking off. And
Yeah.
even in 2020, I mean, it became, like you're saying, the fastest growing medium for people to consume content. And I don't see that trend going anywhere. I mean, it's becoming, I can't leave a conversation or enter a conversation without hearing somebody say, "Ooh, I heard this podcast you should listen to." Like that just comes up organically now. Or, "Ooh, did you hear Nancy's story she shared on such and such podcast?" Like those are the things that happen. And people love it because it's like, man, I heard someone's real story that I think you would really resonate with.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think it'll just continue to grow. And that's why I think we're all at this point, not to sound super repetitive, but we're all big fans of this medium because of the power that it has to impact somebody else's life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been fun, guys. I really have enjoyed having this conversation. It's great to partner with you, Alex. Nancy, it's so exciting to watch all your success that you're making happen.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. And so thanks for jumping on here. It's podmatch.com. If you guys want to sign up, use podmatch.com/sign up/podcast connector agency. And I would appreciate that that's my affiliate link.
Yes.
And so thank you so much for being with us and joining in here, and continue to jump in here and share some of your thoughts and comments as you come back. If you watch the replay of this, let us know, and have a good day, everybody.